Another Killowen whiskey. WTF, I hear you say. Brace yourselves. You're probably going to want to stay tuned for this one. Turn up the volume, sit a little closer, put on your glasses if you have to. Let's drink some whiskey. Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome to Whiskey and Whiskey. Whiskey Chaser Brian, Christy's Bar, Kilkenny. Hope you're keeping well. All right, so genuinely, I know what you're thinking. Brian, didn't you just do a Killowen video like only a couple of weeks ago? Technically, yes. Also, technically, it wasn't whiskey, it was poachine. And also, kind of technically, it's now over 2 months ago. So, yeah, why the f not? Look, if I don't do the hard work here and inform you guys of awesome releases, then how the hell are you supposed to know what's going on in the whiskey world? And don't say Facebook or promo emails, I don't get that. But you know, I don't see any other videos out there on this release. Which I suppose technically, there's that word again, it would make me the first to do it. And, in the words of Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. So I guess that makes this an exclusive. This video. This is the newest small batch release from Killowen Distillery. Their signature rum and raisin 5-year-old single malt Irish whiskey. Boom. Okay, before we even get the video started, a little bit of a disclaimer here. You can find this on the bottle. This is a sourced whiskey that was finished in Killowen's own rum and PX sherry casks. Previous to that, it has spent 5 years in bourbon casks before being transferred and vatted. On the label, it does say sourced from a nearby distillery in County Louth. I didn't ask, nor did Killowen disclose which distillery exactly, but I have my guesses as to which one it could possibly be. Now, I'm not going into the details behind Killowen Distillery. I did all of that when I drank their poachine releases on the channel a while back. So if you want to hear that, then I'm going to leave a little card above so you can check that out for yourself in your own time. It should be here, or maybe here. But really briefly, Brendan Carty is the gaffer in Killowen, and distillery is proudly hailed as Ireland's smallest distillery. Now, to date, they haven't released any of their own whiskey, but I have heard that it is extremely close to being ready, and we could probably expect it very soon. Now look, in all honesty, I haven't been given any release dates or any information has been given out by the distillery itself, but you know, I can add, and I'm putting a few pieces of the puzzle together. And I'm going on some rumors, I heard. Could be all BS, but I'm guessing they're pretty close. So the distillery setup itself is small in comparison to other distilleries and their operations, but the way in which they distill is kind of slow. But they put a huge emphasis on flavors and quality. They use 2 alembic flame-fed pot stills, one 1,000 litre and one 800 litre to distill their whiskey, along with using worm tub condensers to condense the vapors back to liquids. Now there's an interesting point here, and that's that the flame-fed stills along with the worm tub condensers is not only a legal requirement for cognac distillation, but it's also a nod of the cap to the way distillers used to do things in this country hundreds of years ago, many moons ago, in the hills, illegally. Bit of old school loving going on in the distillery. Nice. Again, Killowen, huge favorite of mine. I have had a number of their whiskeys, and the rum from Killowen, and needless to say, again, huge fan. I love the way they do things. Okay, so some might say a fanboy. I mean, I'm not ashamed of that. I love you guys. Really quickly, a little bit about the whiskey. This is a 5-year-old single malt, which was initially matured in bourbon casks, which said casks were handpicked, and then they were finished in 2 separate Killowen casks, one a dark rum cask and then one PX sherry casks. These were eventually vatted together to form this signature rum and raisin, which, if I understood the email correctly, is the first in a series of different signature releases of varying forms. Sounds incredibly interesting and encrypting, meaning, are there more to come? Anyone? Ah, it's really raining. There's something that's really irritating me lately. It's the middle of May. Actually, no, it's the end of May, 2021, for those who are watching this later. And Ireland. Normally, we have decent enough weather at this time of year. It has not stopped raining this month. And it's cold. Damn cold. Jacket cold. I think at this stage, the only thing that's holding me here is whiskey. And my missus. That was awkward. Thank God she doesn't watch these. If she watched these, I'd be in shit. All right, so back to the whiskey. This is batch number 1, and it's bottled at a hefty 55% ABV. There was only 660 bottles in this batch, and straight away upon first reflections, the bottles need to be a little bit bigger. I need to get more out of them. This was my bottle. I got it after the release. It didn't last long, as you can see. All joking aside, do remember to drink responsibly. So the Killowen Dark Rum Cask offers up notes of rich molasses and tropical fruits, whereas the PX Sherry Cask provides raisin and dried fruits vibe. If you tie that in with the signature flavors of apples and pears you would expect from a single malt whiskey, we are headed to Flavor Town, folks. And I've got my ticket. All joking aside for a second, I don't think I had said this, but this is Killowen's first single malt whiskey that they've released. At the time of the release, this went for roughly 60 euros, which is not a bad price by any means. I mean, I've already had it, so I do know what to expect, but yeah. Let's do the tasting notes. I really should have poured myself a bigger dram, but it's midweek. School tomorrow. Right, on the nose, let's do this. Straight away, you get that hits of the single malt and the apples, and you know, there's kind of a nice dark fruits vibe to it as well. There's nothing incredibly that jumps out as overdone or anything. There is a slight hint of youthfulness from this. Now, when I say slight hint, I mean literally a slight hint. I'll give you my thoughts at the end of it, but it doesn't stand out as young. Straight off, that's honest, right? It's not super in your face. It kind of, if it was to describe it, sits in the background. And just barely. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, I actually think the high ABV and the punch from the apples hides it really, really well. It's very buttery. It's very kind of like a butterscotch to it, you know, along with the dark fruits and the lovely apples note. It's quite vibrant, quite juicy, quite lush. Let's have a little sip. Let's launch it. Quite spicy, but straight away, you get that burst of apples. And there's a lovely kind of sweet, sugary demerara note on the palate. The dried fruits, wow. A lot more apparent on the palate than they were on the nose. It really shines through. And I mean, you know, it does punch through that. It stands out more than it did on the nose. I know I said that, but I want to reiterate that. There's plenty of kind of cinnamon spice notes to it. And certainly you get definite hints or hits of rum and raisin. Definitely. Quite sweet, quite punchy, quite nice. You know what I don't get, which is kind of crazy, is the youthfulness on the palate when I'm drinking it. I mean, on the finish, you're definitely getting the apples through. They're way more definitive. Plenty of heat. I know when I drank this before, I don't remember as much heat. It could be just the day that's in it. It's, you know, it's late in the evening, had a long day, had a couple cups of coffee. The palate could be just a little bit tired. Everything's could be a little bit over spicy, but certainly getting a lot of heat off it. Certainly a cask strength kicker for me right now. The Christmassy notes towards the end, you know, certainly coming out. Certainly coming out. It's damn good. It's really good. Before I give you my final thoughts, it would be of a great benefit to me to remind you to subscribe to the channel and do all of that fun stuff like clicking the notifications too. Remember, this is all in the name of whiskey. Sure, it's for me. I like drinking whiskey and telling you what it tastes like. Don't forget, this is not a review channel. This is me drinking whiskey. Depending on if you like it or not, it could be like watching paint dry. Or not. That's your choice. Oh yeah, don't forget the thumbs up. That's important too as well. And share it around if you feel like it. Oh, damn it, I always forget this. All of the relevant links to all of the whiskey websites and pages and groups and Instagrams and book faces are down below in the description bar. Consider joining my private Facebook group, Whiskey and Whiskey. That link is below too. It's worth your while. All right, to sum up. So for me, honestly, this is a no-brainer. Packs one hell of a punch in both ABV and flavor profile. I certainly don't think it drinks like a 5-year-old single malt, if I'm totally honest, and I'm not endorsed to say anything like that, and this bottle does belong to the bar. That one is my old one. I was pleasantly surprised when I tucked into this first and really did find myself going back to it more and more and more. I did owe a couple of friends some samples out of it, my own bottle, and I suppose now would be the best time to say sorry, not sorry. The ship has sailed, gents. My bad. The whiskey, it is quite a high ABV whiskey at 55%, and being 5 years old can certainly give it a kick. I can see it being a touch too much for some people in the spice world. Pardon the pun there, folks. But the flavor from the malt and the vatting of the cask puts it a different dimension on it. Not even sure if any of these are still available, but if they are, check it out for yourself. Or if you're one of those that just hoards bottles and, you know, doesn't open them, shame on you. You're really missing out on something very well done here. 660 bottles. Awesome. Right, that's enough. I've blown enough smoke for today. I don't want anyone in certain distilleries to get a big head, but again, fair play, lads. An absolute smasher of a whiskey. Thanks again to the chaps here at Christy's for hooking me up with the whiskey. As always, roll on opening day for the pubs here in Ireland. If you're planning a visit, leave a little comment below, and I can try and meet you down here when we do open in a couple of weeks for a small one or two. Until then, I shall chat soon. Stay safe. Chaser, out. Sláinte.